What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg by myself today. So solo cast today. And before you guys turn it off, I don't want to listen to Chris talk by himself, right? The reason why I'm a solo cast is because I got a great, in my opinion, a great idea for a podcast idea from Ed Flannery. So shout out Ed. And it was September 6th. This should be coming out. What's next Tuesday? The 16th?
Yes.
Yeah, so it should be the 16th when this is coming out. So it was a little short notice to pull Dave in, kind of get things together. So I was just like, JJ, grab the camera, head to Ledgewood. We're going to get this filmed. Because I thought it was a really great idea. And he was like, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do you transition for back to school? Because September can be super hectic. And Ed's a great avatar for that because he's both a teacher and a parent. And I feel like if you're one of those two things or both of those things, it can be really hard to transition back to school. For me, obviously I've been working for the gyms, but a lot of you guys might not know, I was a physical education teacher at the high school level for 4 years before I got into this. So I understand the struggle. And so I was like, took some time, thought through some things. So I want to kind of go through some tips and tricks with you guys. So I'm going to address teachers first and then parents. So the three main things I had for teachers were plan ahead, take advantage of weekends, and utilize your prep or your lunch. Okay, so let's start with plan ahead. When I had Michelle and Kate on, they were both great examples because they were teachers and parents, and both of them said you got to plan ahead. So not just your workouts, guys, but even your nutrition. So when I was a teacher, a lot of what I used to do is I would pack my own lunch because I wanted to eat a certain way. I wanted to eat healthy. I wanted to make sure I had enough protein, so on and so forth. And so a lot of it was packing my lunch the night before. To make it easy, I always recommend that you overcook dinner. So what I mean by that is not actually overcook the food, but cook more than you would eat for dinner. So I was fortunate that my wife would cook dinner. Shout out Tiff, she's the best. And she would cook maybe like 2 or 3 meals worth. I'd eat some for dinner, put the rest in containers, and I got lunch for the next couple days. So that's a great way to make sure you're eating the way you want when you transition back to school. Because again, you're coming off a summer where things might be very flexible. You get into the school year, things are not flexible. And so if you don't plan your meals ahead, you're going to be left ordering out, eating from the cafeteria, just grabbing what you got in the house, and that's going to set you up for failure. And then the other one is obviously planning out your workouts. Now, unfortunately, most people are going to have to get that in early in the day, especially if you're both a teacher and a parent. If you're not a parent, then after school is great because theoretically you get out early. And so you could maybe pop over to the gym and get a workout in, or even, go for a run or something like that outside because it's still nice. But it's one of those things where it's wrapping your head around, I might have to get up earlier than I want to get it in. Being realistic with yourself that you might not be able to work out 4, 5, 6 times a week. If you're used to doing that, bite-sized chunks, start with 3, plan out 3 non-negotiable workouts a week. And even if that means getting up early to get it done, that's how you're going to get it done. So planning those things ahead. The second thing was taking advantage of weekends. Now, I understand weekends can be crazy, especially if you got kids involved with sports. If it's anything like my family, though, weekends over the summer were super crazy because you're doing things. You're going down the shore, who's got a birthday, going on vacation. If your kids are still involved with sports, there are summer sports, things like that. And so the weekends are where you don't have school. And so even if your kids have activities, carving out okay, maybe I can get in an hour before we have to go to football. Or on Sunday, maybe I'll get in an hour before or after church if you do church, or before we have that event. I might be naive. Most of the people don't have something every Saturday and every Sunday that takes up your entire day, right? And so being able to utilize the weekends to just even get a half hour or an hour in, it would be super, super helpful if you're a teacher. And then this was something I did when I was a teacher, was utilizing my prep and my lunch. Now, to be fair, and this is no shot at all the PE teachers out there, I had much less prep to do during my prep period than maybe a first grade or second grade teacher, right? Which is totally fair. But a lot of times what I would do is I would utilize my lunch. So maybe I would prep for classes and eat my lunch at the same time or some sort of snack. And then let's say I had a 45-minute lunch, I might get outside and go for a walk or go for a jog or get a light lift in at the high school weight room just to get something in. And so again, I understand that that's not feasible for everyone. I understand that's not something that, like, there are going to be teachers out there that hear that. I'm like, that's impossible. What are you even talking about? But it's something where there are going to be teachers out there that is possible. And that's something that maybe they never thought of before. So those are kind of three things that I'm like, okay, as a teacher, that's how you can kind of game plan to make sure you don't fall off track when the school year comes around. Now for parents, three things I came up with, and I'm gonna have something at the back end, guys, that kind of pertains to both. But I also had to plan ahead, right? Parents often have to work out early or way late. If you're a parent of kids who are young, so like my kids are 10 and 7, they're getting into things like soccer. My daughter just started like little gymnastics, right? I'm not going to work out at 6 o'clock, right? Because they're doing activities. I'm buzzing them around. My wife's buzzing them around. And so it's getting in early. So like, for example, my wife, she might go to a 5:30 a.m. or 7 a.m. class at the gym near us in Denville. And that is not an ideal time for my wife, but that's when she can get it in. And so being able to, again, if you're a parent, plan ahead, find 3 hours during the week, and it might not be the same day every single week, but maybe sitting on a Sunday and planning out, okay, based around the kids' schedule, my husband or wife's schedule, or whatever the case may be, where are 3 hours that I can get a workout in? The second thing is get the family involved. I've heard a lot of people who are parents like, oh, it's so hard with the kids. And yes, it is hard with kids, but if you always use your kids as a default excuse, they're not going anywhere, right? They're going to be with you until at the lowest age 18 and you don't want to wait 18 years plus to get in shape. So something that my wife does is what she makes for dinner is dinner for everyone. So if she makes a healthy dinner and the kids don't necessarily like it, right? She might have little things. Like one of the things we do is like, there's one thing on their plate we know they're going to eat, one thing they might not eat, and then one thing that like they have to try. And so she makes one dinner. So it's not like she's making a healthy dinner for me and her, and then the kids eat whatever they want. And I know that can bog a family down where whoever does the cooking says, screw it. Like, I'm not making 19 dinners, so I'll just make what the kids want. But in reality, like, you're the parent. And so being able to get the kids involved, coaching them on like, yeah, we want to eat healthy, and giving them like, okay, hey, I'm making this healthy dinner that they might not like, but I'm going to partner it with a side that I know they will like, allows them to kind of get involved. And that's going to then allow you to eat healthy from the nutrition side. And then from the fitness side, if you it's like, you're at your son's soccer practice and you have your younger kid with you, and it's like, hey, they're at practice. I got 45 minutes. Maybe I'll do a light workout there and get my younger one involved. So being able to loop your family in is going to maximize your time to be able to do those things. And then the third one is carpool and find an accountability partner. So with kids, oftentimes you're going to activities with local kids around the same age. Something my parents always did was carpool. And so like, I might have so-and-so's mom pick me up for practice, drive me to practice, and then my mom would pick us up, right? And so being a parent is hard. And so being able to come around and have almost like a cohort of parents to work together is really, really helpful. And if I have someone carpooling, that frees up that time for me to do something as the parent. So whether that's clean something, cook something, run to the bank, whatever the case may be, and maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week, it's getting a workout in. And so game planning and partnering with parents, because those parents also want to go do something. And so when the days you're driving the kids, they get to go do something. It's a mutual relationship that allows you to prioritize getting your workout in, and then having an accountability partner, ideally within that parent group, but just having an accountability partner that maybe you do the workouts with, or if you miss a day, they're there to encourage you and help keep you on track, is super, super important. At our gyms, our general managers do the accountability, but it always helps to have a spouse, a sibling, a friend who's there to also help you from falling off, because it's almost like they're in it with you. You know what I mean? And so that goes a long way. So those are 3 things that I would do as a parent to help stay on track during back to school. Now, all together, well, you know what? Let me back up. Just to summarize, you have teachers. I said plan ahead, take advantage of weekends, and potentially use your prep or your lunch for some movement, even if it's a 10 to 15-minute walk. That's going to be better than nothing. And then for parents, I said also plan ahead, get the family involved, carpool, and find an accountability partner. The big overarching theme for both of those guys is that don't look for perfect, right? What I wrote down was the environment, nutrition, pre-workout setup might not be as good as the summer, but work on getting something in and staying consistent. That was something I talked about. I think Dave mentioned on one of the podcasts is like when he started to go through a stressful time with his previous gym, it was like his workouts fell by the wayside because he always worked out at the same time. He always had the same setup. And when things went awry, it was like he didn't work out. What you have to do in these scenarios, guys, is accept I might not be working out at the time I feel the best. I might not have the full hour 15, hour and a half to do everything that I want to do. I might have to work out in areas I don't necessarily feel comfortable in, like a park or a field or my driveway or whatever the case may be. The people who stay the most consistent are the ones who find a way. And so I want to encourage you guys to accept the fact that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be I crush every workout every day and I set myself up in the perfect environment. Sometimes the key is just getting it in, and that's consistency. And consistency beats perfect every single time. And so I want to encourage you guys, even if it's at a time that you're not the best at, even if it's at an environment you're not most comfortable with, get something in, get a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour in those ways. Work on staying consistent. And if you stay consistent over time, those little things that used to rub you the wrong way and prevent you from getting a workout in start to seem insignificant, and you stay on track the entire time and you don't fall off. So hopefully that was helpful, guys. Again, I know a little bit different with a solo cast, so hopefully it was still engaging with just hearing my voice. As always, guys, like and subscribe to us on YouTube and Instagram. Give us a 5-star rating on the podcast platform you listen on. See you at the gym.